What's up everyone? Welcome back to another World of Warcraft Season of Discovery guide. I'm Severingo, and today we'll be going over how to PvP as the famous slot machine, floor-hugging, King of Burst class, the Shaman. In Phase 2 of Season of Discovery, it's safe to say the Shaman meme is a thing of the past, and they're currently top tier in every aspect of the game, leading many to believe that a nerf is imminent. But until that day comes, Shamans are eating good. In PvP specifically, Dual Wield Enhancement has a ridiculous amount of tankiness and sustain with Way of the Earth, instant cast free of cost self-heals, and mail armor. Little to no downtime with rune swapping to Shamanistic Rage, and crazy burst damage with Storm Strike, Instant Chain Lightnings, and Lava Lash. Two-handed Enhance can work as well, and I've put together an incredibly fun build that I'm really excited to share with you that can be extremely effective. It plays more like two-handed Wind Fury Enhance from Era, which many people liked, but it's more of a gamble to get the procs, and you lose out on the big boost to your health from running Way of the Earth, but I've honestly had more fun running this build than dual wielding. As for Elemental, the addition of runes like Decoy Totem and Power Surge really help bolster the already scary spec, but Nature's Swiftness is definitely missed at level 40, and 20-yard range shock spells plus hard casting when dealing with pushback can be very frustrating. So positioning and choosing your pushes correctly is key. When you do get the chance to hardcast, you can be absolutely terrifying, and when the stars align and you get an overload proc with a Power Surge instant cast Lava Burst, it's one of the greatest feelings ever. As always, I'll be discussing optimal talents, potential gear and rune choices, and overall game strategy for both Enhancement and Ellie. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. First up, we have the monstrous Enhancement Shaman, previously famous for its up and down roller coaster type playstyle where you're either getting massive Wind Fury crits and one-shotting people, or you're slowly hacking at your enemy with what feels more like a pool noodle. But with the addition of all the new runes, Enhancement Shaman plays a lot more like it does in Wrath of the Lich King, which is incredibly strong.
Gouge parries it. We're so dead. He just walks away, man. Fuck, dude. We actually could have ran this Shaman down. I don't know if we had a Hodge for him. Wow. Yeah, we actually just can't do anything.
For talents, I run this build. You can swap around a few points here and there, which I'll go into, but I feel this is my ideal overall. I choose 5 points in shield specialization over ancestral knowledge because shield spec helps if you ever want to flag carry in Warsong Gulch because you can get blocks in Ghost Wolf. And it's also nice to have the choice to swap to a shield for the damage mitigation if you're getting focused. Comparatively, you get a flat 5% increase to your mana, which, as Enhancement and my current gear setup, which is very solid, I get a whopping 97 additional mana points. So it's really not a noticeable difference, and by rune swapping to Shamanistic Rage, mana is rarely an issue as it is. I take 2 points in Guardian Totems for the reduction in cooldown to your Grounding Totem because ranged classes are your biggest enemy as Enhancement, and there are a lot of strong bursty ranged classes at the moment. A well-timed grounding can be the difference of life or death when it comes to a overcharged Starfire or a Lava Burst or whatever it may be coming at you. Improved Ghost Wolf helps when trying to catch up to an enemy or get away. Leaving it at 2 or 3 seconds can be the difference of not being able to do either of those, and I like having it much more than a 10% increase to damage of my Lightning Shield. Thundering Strikes is an obvious one for the crit and to get down to Flurry. If you don't see yourself running a two-handed enhancement build, you can swap out this talent for something else, but I like having the option so I don't ever have to respec and just have to rune swap. Especially when I don't feel the other options with one measly talent point are going to make a noticeable difference. 5 points in Flurry, which is one of your biggest talents as Enhancement because it increases your attack speed by 30% for your next 3 swings after dealing a critical strike. Elemental Weapons increases the effectiveness of your imbues, so very important. Parry will help a lot against melee, and then I put 2 points into improved weapon totems, so my Wind Fury totem is better for my melee team members. If you're playing solo or don't want to do this for whatever reason, you can instead put 1 more point into weapon mastery for 2% additional damage, and then of course, Storm Strike, with its new 6-second cooldown as opposed to the massive 20-second one that it used to be, and that's amazing. For runes, when dual wielding, you're always going to want to run dual wield specialization on the chest, Lava Lash because it hits like a truck, costs no mana, and is on a short 6-second cooldown. Maelstrom Weapon on your belt for the instant cast damaging or healing spells. Boom. And then for your leg and feet runes, there are specific ones for each that you're generally going to want to run, but I'll go into reasons as to why you'd want to swap at times. On your legs, you want to run Way of the Earth most often because it gives you a huge 30% boost to your health, you take 10% reduced damage, and have a 6% reduced chance to be critically hit by melee attacks. You do need to have Rockbiter weapon on your main hand. I run Rockbiter on both my main and offhand. The attack power bonus is just really good in my opinion, but there are worlds where you can swap imbues and still do well. A slight caveat that can also be seen as a positive for Way of the Earth is Earthshock has to be cast in melee range, but it no longer shares a cooldown with your other shocks, which is a boost to your damage. But this also means that against ranged enemies, Grounding Totem and Gap Closers are key. Now for the fun leg rune swaps. Shamanistic Rage is essential for keeping uptime as high as possible. I have 3 sets of leg pieces with different runes on them and utilize Item Rack to swap them when I'm out of combat. With Shamanistic Rage, you barely have to drink, and if you do, it just bolsters the speed at which you regenerate your mana. The damage reduction that you take is also nice, but I typically swap back right away after getting mana because Way of the Earth is typically your best bet given the huge amount of health plus damage and crit reduction that you get from it. The more memey rune you can swap to for crits and giggles is Ancestral Guidance. When activated, 25% of your damage is converted to healing on up to 3 nearby party members, but more importantly, 100% of your healing is converted to damage on your most recent Flame Shock target. An important note on this is that healing does not include overhealing, so whomever you're healing, whether yourself or a nearby team member, needs to have reduced health. With that being said, this works with healing pots and Maelstrom instant cast heals. So look at the possibilities.
Holy!
So if you use a superior healing potion, you're going to hit for whatever that heals you for. And you just saw how much it can hit when you use an instant cast healing wave. Obviously, this requires more planning, so I only use it for fun, and it's not as consistent as just running Way of the Earth, but isn't the reason we play this game to have fun? More about that when we talk about the two-handed weapon build. For your feet rune, because Decoy Totem is so strong, I typically don't ever switch off, but there's a world where if you're playing with support, you can opt for Spirit of the Alpha and cast it on a teammate, which grants you the Loyal Beta buff, increasing your attack power by a reasonable 20%. But with so many strong ranged classes right now, a lot of slow/CCs in the game, and time to kill being where it is, the benefits you get from Decoy Totem far outweigh the damage boost you'd get from Spirit of the Alpha, in my opinion. Next up, let's discuss my two-handed weapon build. As I mentioned earlier, this build is more focused on fun rather than optimization, but it can still be effective. I've topped the leaderboard many times with it. The general idea is to use Wind Fury on your two-hander, which increases your chance of getting Maelstrom weapon procs by 50%. So not only does this allow you the possibility to get extra attacks with your big heavy-hitting weapon, but by running Lava Burst on your glove rune, the additional Maelstrom weapon procs allow you to get instant casts free of charge Lava Bursts that are guaranteed to crit as long as you have Flame Shock on your enemy, even if it's rank 1 when you're low on mana. So everything I discussed about runes in the dual wield section apply, except for your running two-handed mastery on your chest and Lava Burst on your gloves. Then for your legs, because Way of the Earth doesn't work without Rockbiter weapon on your main hand, I'm swapping between Shamanistic Rage for the damage reduction/mana regeneration, Ancestral Guidance for the meme one-shot potential, which by the way is even more fun when combined with a two-hander, and then Earth Shield when I'm not using either of those because a little extra survivability plus the pushback reduction if you're casting Lava Burst at less than 5 Maelstrom stacks is welcomed, even if it's nothing compared to the benefits you get from Way of the Earth. The problem with this build is if you're running mostly Enhancement Gear, Lava Lash crits hit harder than a Critical Strike Lava Burst, two-handers really don't hit super hard consistently, and when you don't get your procs or crits, you're just waiting for the sweet embrace of death while you watch that slow wind-up of your weapon swing. We'll talk about gear next, but while we're on the topic of the two-hander build, I was lucky to get the automatic Crowd Pummeler from Gnomer, which increases your attack speed by 50% for 30 whole seconds. It doesn't have the best top-end damage because the attack speed of the weapon is extremely fast, but it makes for some very funny and enjoyable gameplay, which I like to swap back and forth for every time it's off cooldown. For gear, you want to focus on stamina for tankiness and survivability, strength/raw attack power for damage, and agility/crit because agility provides a small amount of crit dodge chance and armor, and crit not only makes for some nice big hits, but it also procs your flurry talent, which we know increases your attack speed by 30% after a critical strike. I've linked some potential pre-BIS and BIS gear options for both LE and Enhancement in the description below, but I always recommend going into 60 upgrades yourself to peruse what options you have. I'm a big proponent of teaching a man to fish as opposed to just giving him one for a day. In terms of consumables and useful items, greater mana pots and superior healing potions are great in a pinch, with the latter also being used for ancestral guidance as we spoke about earlier. Ankh gives you access to your reincarnation ability, which can be nice for some funny revenge kills on people, but be careful because you risk being doubly humiliated. It can also come in clutch at other times, like in Warsong Gulch or Arathi Basin. Engineering is huge for PvP, with things like explosives, iron grenades being extremely useful for a multitude of reasons. Most importantly, use them to either gap close, get away, or interrupt spellcasts. Gotcha. You can also use it when someone's trying to cap a flag at Arathi Basin and you're spinning the flag. Cat's Eye Ultra Goggles are great for catching stealthies. The Parachute Cloak allows you to do the Lumber Mill to BS jump every 30 minutes, or not take damage when jumping down to mine. And the Engineering Craftable Shield and Belt are really nice to have as well. You can opt to sweat a little bit and use things like Magic Dust, Flash Bombs, Swiftness, Free Action, and the various protection potions, but for the vast majority of you, this is unnecessary and will definitely put a hole in your pocket. Any additional stat boosters that don't persist through death aren't really useful because they go away so quickly, but if you have the money, go for it. One last notable mention is you can break blind and become immune to nature damage for 3 seconds with the leatherworking male craftable helmet. It also just has really good stats, so go ahead and try to make that. The mats dropped a lot in price since the beginning of the phase, so I was able to make one for Enhancement and also made one for Elemental, which I'll go into shortly. Finally, let's just go over some general strategy/tips. Use Purge to clean your enemy's buffs. This is one of the strongest abilities in the game. Make sure to utilize it. Mage's Ice Barrier, Priest's Power Word Shield or Fortitude, a Nature's Swiftness if you're fast enough, or Healing over time spells. The list goes on and on. In Phase 2, Shaman got Totemic Projection. This is a massive new addition to the Shaman toolkit on a short 10-second cooldown and costing no mana. Drop Earthbind Totem and Magma Totem where someone recently stealthed, and you can immediately pop them out and put them into combat. Use Earthbind to catch up to an enemy who's running away from you. Drop a Fire Nova Totem, wait a few seconds, and project it into a large group. Keep moving Wind Fury on top of your melee team members who are charging into a fight. Move your Grounding Totem or Tremor Totem so that they're within range of whomever needs it. You get the point. This one ability really adds an array of new possibilities, and I've been absolutely loving it. When you have to drink, or you have any downtime / or capping a flag, drop Decoy Totem, Grounding Totem, Magma Totem, and Poison Cleansing Totem. If a stealthy tries to open on you, Decoy Totem will take that opener away from them. Magma can help get them out of stealth, Poison Cleansing clears poisons as well as blind, and Grounding Totem will eat one spellcast, which can be the difference of you capping the flag or not. Use Item Rack to swap between your runes and gear sets. I have an entire video about this, so go check it out. Make weapon swapping and shield swapping macros to switch between. You can do this in combat. Use Stoneclaw Totem to taunt homunculi, pets, and shadow fiends. This one comes in a lot of handy, so definitely utilize it. And finally, heal your teammates. You are a support class as a shaman. Despite the fact that you are the strongest melee class out there right now, the difference between a good and a great shaman is a great shaman knows that they are a hybrid support role. Similar to a Ret Paladin that knows how to bop their casters when they're getting whomped by melee, you can absolutely keep your team members up with some off healing, and you can also make or break a fight depending on if you drop the right totems, purge the right buffs, or throw an instant cast free of charge heal on one of your team members who's low. Next up, we have the master of all 4 elements, the Elemental Shaman. Known for its fear-inducing chain lightning crits and now lava bursts, Elemental Shaman are a force to be reckoned with in Phase 2. For talents, I run this build. Similar to Enhancement, there are areas where you can swap around a few points, but this is generally the idea. We start with 5 points in Concussion for the 5% increase in damage to your lightning and shock spells. Then I put the other 5 in Convection for the mana reduction as opposed to Earth's Grasp, Elemental Warding, or Call of Flame. But with that being said, if you find yourself dropping Earthbind to either create or close distance between you and an enemy, and you want it to have a slightly bigger radius, in this case 2 yards, feel free to put 2 points into Earth's Grasp. There are also some reasons you could put some points into Elemental Warding or Call of Flame. The former gives a 12% reduction to damage taken from Fire, Frost, and Nature effects, which can definitely add up when fighting a Mage, Druid, or Warlock. I instead put those 3 points into Reverberation for the shorter cooldown on my shock spells. Call of Flame can be used if you find yourself using your fire totems a lot and want them to do 15% more damage. Personally, I feel that as an elemental shaman, the majority of your damage comes from lava burst crits and chain lightning, so I want to make sure I maintain flame shock on my target while also having the ability to interrupt a cast with earth shock as often as possible. But my goal here is to give you all the reasons you might want to opt for a specific set of talents over another and let you ultimately decide based on your personal preference or playstyle. Next, we have Elemental Focus, which procs a lot. You have a 10% chance to enter a clear casting state after casting any of your damaging spells, and this reduces the mana cost of your next damaging spell by 100%, thus leading to a higher amount of uptime, and we all like that, because no one likes being Call of Thunder is a must, giving you 6% extra crit chance on your 2 lightning spells, and is necessary to spec into Lightning Mastery, which reduces the cast time of those spells by a whole second. Eye of the Storm gives you full pushback protection on casts for 6 seconds after being the victim of a critical strike. This is chosen over improved fire totems and elemental devastation because pushback is your biggest enemy as an LE shaman, and the other 2 choices don't remotely compare. You'll also need to learn how to spellcast juke in order to deal with melee head-on. Next, we spec into Storm Reach for the 6-yard increase to your chain lightning and lightning bolt spells. Elemental Fury is arguably your biggest talent as elemental because it increases the critical strike damage bonus of your damaging spells and totems by 100%. This is what makes LE Shaman famous for their huge crits. And then Elemental Mastery is a 3-minute cooldown that guarantees your next damaging spell to crit and makes it a free cast. This pairs exceedingly well with Nature's Swiftness at level 60, and I can already see the Power Surge Lava Burst crit with an Overload proc plus an instant cast guaranteed critical strike chain lightning right after that. The one-shot potential is going to be insane. When it comes to which runes to run, similar to Enhancement, there isn't really a whole lot of wiggle room in most of your slots except for your legs. Overload on your chest allows for the chance to get those sweet double cast damaging or healing spells at a 50% reduced effectiveness, very solid. Lava Burst on the gloves is an obvious one. By maintaining Flame Shock on your enemies, Power Surge gives you a 5% chance to have the cooldown of your Lava Burst or Chain Lightning spell reset, as well as making your next Lava Burst, Chain Lightning, or Chain Heal cast instant. On top of this, every 5 seconds you gain mana equal to 15% of your intellect, which is a nice addition. For boots, Decoy Totem is just too helpful to opt for anything else. Positioning is so important as a shaman, and being able to freely cast is the main thing you have to worry about. So Decoy Totem is really a huge help when trying to survive against melee. Legs are the only slot that I'll offer alternatives for. I personally run Way of the Earth when playing LE most of the time because the survivability boost is just too strong in my opinion. When I need mana, I'll swap to Shamanistic Rage, and if I want to have some goofy fun, I'll opt for Ancestral Guidance. Healing Potions doing 835 damage, and Lesser Healing Wave 429. When looking for gear, you want to try to reach the 3% hit cap for spells in PvP. I get this from my shoulders, gloves, and belt. Then you want to stack a mix of stamina for overall survivability, spell power to bolster the damage of your spells, spell crit for more chance at those huge numbers, intellect which gives a bit of spell crit as well as increases your mana pool, and you can also use items like this trinket that decreases the magical resistances of your spell targets, kind of like a spell penetration. Pre-BIS and BIS options are in the description below, but use 60 upgrades if you ever want to tinker around yourself. One other thing I'll mention is because you only have one option if you get the Thermoplug necklace, I opted for the enhancement one. It was an easy choice because I main enhancement, but it also has spell crit on it. So it's a very solid choice with stamina and spell crit for elemental as well. So I like having the option to be able to use it for both specs. When it comes to consumables and useful items, it's the same deal as enhancement, so if you skip straight to LE, use the timestamps to jump back to that portion. But before you do that, I will mention a few other additional elemental specific items that are helpful. First, you have the 2 craftable epic helms from leatherworking, which have some very nice on-use effects. The leather option provides a boost to your spell damage and mana regeneration, and I've been told the mail option allows you to get out of polymorph due to the damage caused. And it also speeds up your casting by 20%. Other than that, a fun engineering item that's more useful for casters like Elemental Shaman is the Gnomish Cloaking Device. This allows you to go invisible and precast a spell on an enemy without them seeing you, and without it breaking you out until the spell has been cast. So with that information, I'll let you figure out where and how you want to use it. Two final notable mentions are some fun trinkets that you can get from questlines. You have the nifty stopwatch, which increases your movement speed by 40% for 10 seconds, and then you have the Skull of Impending Doom, which is very well known as it's used to get out of CC. Oh yeah, and last but not least, if you want to flag carry or be really silly and hope for the procs when getting focused by melee, green whelp armor has a chance to put your enemy to sleep when they hit you. Similar to consumables and items, the tips I gave in the enhancement section are very applicable for elemental as well, so if you haven't watched that portion, I highly suggest you do. The only other thing I'll mention in the elemental section is race choice, and this can be applied for enhancement or resto even. For PvP, I'd say you want to decide between either Tauren or Orc. Both can be strong and it really boils down to your preference. Orc's racial hardiness is arguably the strongest racial in the game, giving you an additional 25% chance to resist stuns. So this could be the difference of life or death in many situations. Hammer of Justice, a 5-point kidney shot, you get the deal. For enhancement, they also have Blood Fury, which increases their base melee attack power by a whopping 25% for 25 seconds, but healing effects are also reduced by 50%, so Maelstrom self-heals will take a big hit. Tauren are beefier, no pun intended, with Endurance granting them a 5% increase to their total health, and they can utilize their AoE stun War Stomp, which I've shown many applications for in the overlaid clips of this video. And there you have it. I hope you came out of this video having learned something useful. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you liked the video, left a comment, and if you really want to show your support, subscribe. I can't tell you how much it genuinely means to me when someone who's seen my videos reaches out. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to hang out with me live, I've begun streaming on Twitch and hit affiliate, which I'm really stoked on. I've been toying with the idea of leveling up a character so I can start putting together community raids. If that's something you'd be interested in, let me know. We probably have a little over a month left to phase 2. I hope you guys are having as good of a time as I am, and if there are any other guides you'd like me to focus on, put the request in the comment section and I'll do my absolute best to get one made. That's it from me for the time being. I better see all of you ripping it up in the next Blood Moon event. Peace.